In 1922, a 15-year-old boy showed up for his first day at a small auto repair shop in Tokyo. The owner, skeptical of the boy's abilities, assigned him to clean the workshop and babysit his child. Nobody thought much of it then because they had no idea who this kid would become. Fast forward a few decades, and that boy, Soichiro Honda, was competing with the biggest car brands in the world, while also owning the largest motorbike manufacturer. This is the story of how one poor Japanese boy went from babysitting to building the multi-billion-dollar Honda brand. Our story begins in 1906 in a small, impoverished village at the foot of Mount Fuji. Soichiro Honda was born to a local blacksmith who fixed bicycles on the side, and a mother who was an accomplished weaver. Growing up in difficult economic times, Soichiro lost 5 of his siblings. One day, when he was 8, he heard a strange rumble. He followed the sound and saw something incredible, a Ford Model T. It was the first car he had ever seen, and he was captivated. He said, "I could not understand how it could move under its own power. I found myself chasing it down the road as hard as I could run." That moment changed his life. He started learning to repair farm machinery and bicycles, fascinated by engines. But Soichiro hated school. Instead of studying, he helped his father in the bicycle repair business. His grades were so bad that he forged his family stamp on his report cards to avoid his father seeing them. When he got caught, his father made him kneel for an entire day without lunch. In 1922, Soichiro saw a magazine ad for an auto servicing company in Tokyo called Art Shikai. He wrote to them, got a positive reply, and at just 15, dropped out of school and headed for the big city to chase his dream. When Soichiro arrived in Tokyo, he was overwhelmed. At Art Shikai, the owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, had a job for him, babysitting his child. For months, Soichiro made no money, and his only task was carrying a baby on his back. The only thing that kept him there was the shame of returning home a failure. But as the shop got busier, the owner finally pulled Soichiro in to help. He started with small tasks, but quickly became a trusted mechanic. The owner took Soichiro under his wing, teaching him not just repairs but also the business side of things. Back then, cars were a luxury for the rich, and most were foreign-made. Soichiro got to work on Lincolns, Mercedes, and Daimlers. He also got introduced to the world of motorsports. In 1923, Art Shikai started building race cars. Their second model, the Curtiss, used an old airplane engine. In 1924, with Soichiro as the accompanying engineer, the car won the 5th Japanese Motorcar Championship. For the 17-year-old, motorsports became a religion. By 1928, the owner wanted to expand and put 21-year-old Soichiro in charge of a new branch in Hamamatsu. The new repair shop struggled at first. People didn't trust someone so young. But Soichiro's skill and hard work paid off, and his business grew. By the 1930s, he had a staff of 30 people. Soichiro was also a skilled racing driver. He built his own race car and set a speed record that stood for 20 years. But racing was dangerous. In 1936, he was in a serious crash that almost killed him. After months in the hospital and arguments with his family, Soichiro reluctantly gave up racing forever. By 1936, Honda was tired of repair work. He wanted to manufacture car parts, specifically piston rings. The shareholders of Art Shikai disagreed, so Soichiro started his own company, Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry. He spent his days at the repair shop and his nights developing pistons. For years, he struggled. He worked so hard he became emaciated. After countless failures, he even enrolled as a part-time student to learn more about metallurgy. Finally, in 1939, he created a working piston. He quit Art Shikai and went full-time at his new company. But his first products were flawed. Toyota ordered 50 pistons from him, but only 3 passed their quality standards. It was a huge setback, but Soichiro didn't give up. He spent years visiting steel companies and universities to perfect his craft. When he tried again, the result was incredible. His new pistons were perfect and orders poured in. His company grew to employ around 2,000 people. Things were finally looking great until the world went to war. When Japan entered the Pacific War in 1941, Soichiro's company was taken over by the government. Toyota acquired a 45% stake and Soichiro was demoted from president. Then, in 1944, his factory was destroyed in a bomb blast. A few months later, in 1945, an earthquake destroyed his other plant. After the war, Japan was in ruins. Soichiro sold what was left of his company to Toyota and announced he was taking a break. The country faced an economic meltdown. There was a shortage of everything, including gas. Soichiro couldn't even drive his car to the market. One day, he found a small generator engine from an old army radio. An idea struck him. What if he attached this engine to a bicycle? It wasn't a new idea, but he knew Japan desperately needed cheap transportation. In 1946, he started the Honda Technical Research Institute. With a small staff, he created a motorized bicycle. It was an instant hit. Soon, he ran out of old engines, so he designed his own. In 1947, the Type A engine was born, and for the first time, the Honda name was on a machine. In 1948, he founded the Honda Motor Company. He needed money to expand, so he wrote to 18,000 bicycle shops across Japan, telling them he had a solution to get the country moving again. 3,000 of them sent him the money he needed. A year later, the company produced its first complete motorcycle, the Model D. But the Model D was too big and heavy. Soichiro went back to the drawing board. After 3 years of work, he created the Super Cub. It was an instant sensation. Soichiro partnered with investor Takeo Fujisawa, who provided the capital and marketing strategy that built the foundation of the company. The Super Cub reached the U.S. in 1958, costing just a quarter of the price of American motorcycles. It quickly outsold Triumph and Harley-Davidson in their own home markets. Honda also took his motorcycles to the racetrack. Racing was the ultimate showcase. After a disappointing international debut in 1954, Honda came back and won the prestigious Isle of Man TT race in 1959. By the 1960s, Honda was the biggest motorcycle company in the world. But Soichiro had another dream: to build cars. Many warned him it was too risky, but he didn't listen. In 1963, Honda released its first automobile, the T360 mini truck, followed by the S500 sports car. Like with his bikes, he took his cars racing. Honda entered Formula One in 1964 and won its first race just 1 year later. But to conquer the consumer market, Honda took a break from racing and focused on a new car, the Honda Civic. Debuting in 1972, the Civic became a global phenomenon, partly thanks to the 1970s oil crisis. Soichiro had developed a new fuel-efficient engine called the CVCC. It let people drive farther on less gas. The Civic also had a catalytic converter to reduce pollution, something other car makers were overlooking. Americans may have bought the Civic out of necessity, but it was the Honda Accord that truly changed the game. It had the same fuel efficiency, but was bigger and more comfortable. The Accord became one of the best-selling sedans in history. By the end of the 1980s, Honda was the third biggest car company on the planet. Soichiro Honda retired in 1973. He once said, "Looking back on my work, I feel that I was doing nothing more than mistakes. But I am proud of the achievements." Honda has since expanded into jets, boat engines, robots, and more. From a boy assigned to babysit, Soichiro Honda built an empire through relentless passion and the courage to learn from failure. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.